that'll make it easier on us. But v0te here, going to be on the Hellborn side. The blind ban phase. Gordov taking a little bit of decision time to think about what he wants to blind ban. Down to 3 seconds now. 2, 1. Tundra and Tremble going to be blind banned. Polywalk Priest and Tundra blind ban from v0te. So Tundra yet again lapping here.
Yeah, Tundra is getting overlapped there in the blind bans. And Tremble, Kaiser's Tremble must have really made a mark in these teams to want to go ahead and actually blind ban that. Again, I think Tremble is a great hero. I think Kaiser plays him fantastically. That being said, I don't really think he's blind ban material. I simply don't. I think he's fine, but I think there's a lot of ways to counter him. I think there's carries that are way stronger than he is. And actually, look at that. We see a first lock fade coming out this time from Gordov, who's in that first position. So they say, hey, we know the power of fade just as much as you do. This time it's our turn.
Yeah. Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, I'm a little bit taken back by that. As wow, Keeper of the Forest, Tempest by v0te, but in the sense that, I don't know, I would have thought that, I would think that maybe v0te, even being in the second pick, would still possibly lock fade, thinking that there's an option that they could get it. So in a sense, you could say maybe Pikachu, they could have just decided to lock another hero. But then there's also the fact, hey, if you're going for fade anyways, if you want to pick up yourself, then why not just first lock him? So I guess that kind of makes sense too. But yeah, Tempest, Keeper of the Forest is the follow-up, so that really puts decision now on Pikachu. If they do want to go for a first pick fade here or something like that, then you got those two very strong junglers that v0te could gladly snatch up for themselves, but a Wild Soul lock on top of that. So it's safe to say this lock pool is much stronger than the lock pool of the first game, Trove.
Yeah, definitely. And I think v0te did a good job by locking both Tempest and Keeper, saying, hey, you want to take fade? Well, we're going to take both of these junglers that are ridiculously strong if we can get both of them. Of course, Tempest most likely would go in the jungle, and Keeper of the Forest as a suicide, who's a very strong suicide for a number of reasons I've mentioned before. Just the extra armor, the ability to go invis if you're against two, the HP regen you get from that Nature's Veil as well. It's kind of like an all-in-one spell, it really is. And on top of that, just the fact that if it is a solo and you get a hatchet, you can last hit very effectively. His attack animation is actually quite quick with high base damage.
Yeah. Yeah, I like seeing the scout lock here from Pikachu. We'll see if it's a possibility to see that hero, but again, with this being an amazing lock pool, especially with Bubbles with that final lock, something tells me probably not going to see that scout there, as fun as it would be. You have talked about the possibility of a suicide scout even.
Right.
Is definitely there, actually, so that would be interesting, but I don't know if these teams are ready for it to display. And again, just what is a very, very big matchup here. Of course, with DreamHack winner 2012, a trip to that event, after all, is on the line. But the banning phase happening, Pebbles and Nymphora right off the bat here by both of these teams. And now Gordov going to slow things down a little bit before choosing his next ban. It is going to be Parasite, though, and a quick response with Jereziah. So 2 more bans to go in total. Glacius going to be the final one for Pikachu. And Swindle Melons, a.k.a. Team v0te, going to think about it a little bit, apparently.
Yeah, another thing to note is that 5 of those 6 heroes in that lock pool are all good candidates for a suicide lane. And I talked about a couple weeks ago how really the most safe strat, in my opinion, is to lock suicide heroes so that you don't have to worry about your lanes too much when you're trying to compose your team. And it really is, I feel like, the best strategy right now. As far as just, locking things goes. You know, things like Plague Rider, Cthulhu not so much, but anymore anyways with that change to that hard camp. But yeah, heroes like Cthulhu, Bubbles, Keeper, Wild Soul, even Scout can suicide. And the first pick coming out for Pika, it is a Luna. Strong pick, seeing how the other supports are banned. So I like that pickup a lot.
Yeah, it makes sense for Pikachu right there. You mentioned the other supports, obviously Nymphora, Glacius, the other two really go-to supports. Ophelia was a final ban coming out from Team v0te, so Ophelia nearly making it to the regular pick stage, but does get final banned as they just didn't want to risk it being picked up here by Pikachu. So now v0te definitely has some decisions to make on which hero is going to be the support. Well, why not Engineer? It worked out well last time. Sender did a great job on him last time, and they not only have Engineer this time around as well, but they're also going to pair him up with a Magnus possibly, and we've talked about that lately as a very powerful lane combination, as we've seen, especially, TT Esports comes to mind, of course, when you see those combo of heroes. So good start here for v0te, too.
I actually was going to call both of those heroes. I was thinking, right in my mind, he's going to go for Magnus Engineer, because I know that Swindle, when all these heroes are banned, he obviously doesn't like going with the hard carries. I mean, there's Mage Bane, Draconis, Silhouette, even Dark Lady on the board. Wow.
Yeah.
And they're going to go with Draconis and probably like a mid-hero. Oh, no, they don't have to go for a mid-hero because they have that fade. Maybe even another support like an Andromeda or a jungle hero. Something like, okay, they're going to go Torturer. So maybe they don't want that Fade first out of that lock. That's what that pick tells me. Maybe a Torture or mid, maybe a Keeper of the Forest, or maybe just Wild Soul first picked. There's a lot of options there that are viable. But yeah, with Swindlemelons, he doesn't like going those hard carries. He loves the Magnus Aluna lane specifically. Obviously, Aluna was picked up, so the next best thing is Engineer. We saw with TT Esports them really run this lane effectively.
Yeah, we definitely have. So, I mean, I'm honestly thinking a possibility of something like a Flux pickup here. Wouldn't surprise me, but maybe not. We'll see what v0te
I'm going to say Hag.
decides to go for. You think Wretched Hag is going to be that possible choice? I guess they could still. Well, you would think. Also, Magnus and Engineer has potential to be, of course, a very powerful tool mid lane. Silhouette is actually going to be their carry pick. So they are. Oh my gosh, Swindlemelon's picking a hard carry. How dare they? Like I said, even the teams that like to say that they like to run aggressive. Hey, when there's a trip to DreamHack Winter 2012 on the line. Even Swindlemelons will pick a hard carry. So Fade is actually going to be the first pick of the lock pool for Pikachu. Here we go with v0te now. So, but you were saying Fade may not be the first lock pick because of that Torture pick, perhaps, but they still go with it.
Well, and then they go Bubbles Keeper, actually, so they just realize they don't even need the Tempest. They're like, go ahead and pick Tempest against us. Right now is their Suicide hero. So this is why I talked about drafting Suicides in that lock pick is very strong, because now it's like, oh god, are we going to have to Suicide Torture? What do we do? But now they have options. They can Suicide any 3 of those heroes available. So now it's just coming to the decision. What do you think is going to be best Suicide? What do you think is actually going to be best for your team? And I got to say, Tempest, I definitely don't think it's the right option. Obviously, you have a number of counters to Tempest as far as getting that ultimate off.
I could see Scout here.
I could see Scout
really
as
could.
well. Of course, Draconis. He is going to use up a lot of that farm. Wild Soul, I mean, is, again, I really do consider that hero to be God tier. They do go the Wild Soul, but last time they actually went Wild Soul in the short lane, and they do have an aggressive tri-lane here. They have Draconis, Aluna, Torture. That's a lot of damage. That's a lot of range. That can pretty much contest against any lane. So I have this feeling that they're going to go Wild Soul yet again in that short lane. We'll have to wait and see how effective it is. It could be effective because if they decide to do something like, you know, just dual lanes, straight up dual lanes, because they realize they might not need a full-out tri-lane against the lanes of Gary Johnson. They could go start out as a tri-lane and go like a dual lane top and then a dual lane mid as well.
Yeah.
The only thing I said, like as before I was talking about in the post game, if you don't make anything happen with that dual lane in the long lane and Keeper hits that level 6, it could be very devastating.
Well, a big thing that you talked about last game when they did go with the Wild Soul pickup, still being played by Book this time around, was that they didn't have that other carry as well last game to you know, kind of rely on. He's just kind of that secondary, well, at least, well, we shut down their carry. Oh, crap, they have a Wild Soul. That's crazy farm now. So this is setting up for a possibility of that. So, yeah, we are seeing the lane setups. Boo Boo and Wild Soul, they are headed top currently. So it looks like the idea of a tri-lane top is possible, or excuse me, a suicide lane top is possible. With Draconis going bot, and of course Faye going to be heading mid, but actually Aluna's kind of wandering around a little bit. She places an early ward of sight, and Torture is just currently sitting mid with Faye, maybe waiting to get some information on how the Hellborn team is going to set up. So interesting start here, actually.
This is a much safer start. When you know you're going up against a suicide, it's very easy to set up your lanes appropriately. They don't really need a full-out tri-lane. In fact, they should not have a full-out tri-lane against this Bubbles. Just one hero would suffice. I mean, even Draconis himself could solo effectively against the Bubbles. But, of course, it's better, as I've said time and time again, to give them that very big edge in the start and then maybe look to roam around afterwards. But nonetheless, we're going to have like a dual lane mid Fade Torture. I think Fade Aluna would have been a much better decision. And just have Torturer kind of contest and auto attacks with that Bubbles. He can do it much better. Well, okay, he can do it pretty much just as well as that Aluna, but I really think they need a stronger dual lane mid against what's probably going to be a dual lane. Yes, it is in the Engineer Mac in the mid. So, I don't know, it's scary because Torturer is pretty squishy in the beginning, and if they go on him, it could be not so good for Team Pika. We'll have to wait and see how the lane plays out, but Aluna is already walking here towards the mid.
Yeah, so maybe even going to try to bait something and then counter on top of them. But you talked about it. We mentioned this. Engineer Magnus, it has potential to be very deadly itself. So maybe going to wait till at least level 2, if not level 3 here before we start seeing some crazy action. But it's looking like we could have some good action here off the bat. But you talked about, Aluna coming to the middle lane right away. Not really going to help give a good start to Draconis. Again, granted, in this matchup, he definitely should win it, but not going to guarantee that and make it even just worse on Bubbles. So she is roaming around kind of a little bit odd here even. Not exactly. Oh, she's pulling Ancients? Interesting. Okay, she was stacking it. I was going to say, that would have been something, but no, she's just going to stack the Ancients right off the bat, so Luna just going to be useful in the sense of stacking the jungle, perhaps, as well as the Ancients, it looks like.
Well, actually, if you remember, I don't know if this is what she might try to do, but we actually saw TD Esports, I think it was v0te, actually pull this small camp to the mid lane. It doesn't look like that's what TPS Priceless is going to do, but that could be an effective tool if you get that down. But yeah, right now, this is what I feared when you're drafting a straight-up, like, tri-lane with 2 hard supports, or at least 1 hard support, 1 semi-support, is that Luna and Torture are going to be gimped to shit. Like, they are not going to have very much farm at all, whereas in this passive style, you're going to have this Keeper of the Forest who's going to get lots of levels and lots of farms. So, again, this is kind of one of those you put all your eggs in the basket of Draconis, and even then, right now, if you look at this bottom lane, because of the lane control used early on by Keeper of the Forest, he's had to play up, and he probably missed a couple of creep kills as a result of that at his tower.
In fact, Bubbles is tied in creep kills now with Draconis. Both have 5 creep kills. Draconis does have those 4 denies, but being tied in creep kills, Bubbles will gladly take that. So yeah, this lane positioning is really unfortunate for Draconis right now. Definitely not helping. He's going to try to harass the best he can against Bubbles, but you got to wonder, you know, if a Luna or Torture were here, how much different this lane could possibly be, and if Bubbles would be level 3, if he would have all those creep kills, and how much regen he would have used on top of that as well. So, but yeah, Luna's still just kind of wandering around, still level 1. She did triple stack the Ancients already, but I even kind of look at that a little bit and say it's too early. I mean, it's good to do that, but oh, nice burning Shadow Stunning in the middle lane. Magma's going to be followed up with the chain reactions. They realize Engineer's missing. Not going to be even remotely close to a kill, though. He just easily tanks the damage, especially with that shield. The auto attack's doing very little. So, but yeah, I mean, the triple stacked Ancients, it's like, okay, the triple stacked, they're still not going to be done for a while, though, you would think. They are going to counter this ward, though, here at the spawn camp, so hopefully they can start utilizing that. But I don't know. It's just interesting, I guess.
Yeah, it does respawn that creeps now, and they can maybe get a pull if they do what Center did last game and pull it to the extra camp, but if they actually want to stack and pull that, they're going to have to wait a full other minute. Still action mid, no, it just looked like there was going to be. But yeah, now if Luna just decides to maybe try and contest auto attacks with Bubbles, not going to be able to, because Bubbles is level 4, actually has a lot of mana, might try to man up actually on this Draconis. Here comes a Luna, so yeah, this is, I've said this over and over, you need to give your short lane an edge before you actually move around. And it wasn't like Luna was even setting up or doing anything, just kind of sat mid like you mentioned, stack the Ancients. Yeah, whoop-de-doo, but it's not really going to help right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I want to keep an eye on that, because I'm curious when Draconis may look to go over there and do triple stacks, or maybe just as a team even, since it is already triple stacks, to try to take advantage of it. But yeah, if they don't really use it within these next couple of minutes, you would think it's almost as if, yeah, exactly what was Luna really accomplishing with that, all that downtime. But she is going to do a stack here in the jungle, and, you know, stacking up the jungle definitely makes sense. This isn't even going to happen. Oh, wow, that was close, but the Wild Hunters will appear, so he does have a double stack there. Torture at the top, Rune going for it. He will get a chain reactions on 2 heroes, actually, as well as the Impalement doing a good amount of damage, so great harassment coming out here by Nier, playing that Torture, and both Engineer and Keeper of the Forest have to fall back. So that was another interesting thing, though, while we're distracted by the bottom lane. But Engineer, he's been gone from the middle lane for quite a bit, actually. He was doing some pulling at the top side here, and even harassing Wild Soul a little bit. Nearly got the bear kill, but now he is heading back towards the middle lane, although he's going to start falling back again. So, I don't know. What do you make of the Engineer kind of roaming around now?
I don't agree with that either. I think he just could have stayed in mid, and maybe, of course, they don't know where Luna is at all times, and they're kind of scared of that. But I don't know. Maybe he's trying to accomplish maybe getting some pulling done. He actually is going to be able to stack these Wild Hunters up here and utilize that farm. But look at what Book is doing. He's still pulling those creeps with that bear. Check out his CS. It's actually very, very low. It's very low. In fact, it was against a solo Silhouette, and he only has 2 creep kills?
Yeah.
And he's been pulling the... Okay, I'm kind of interested about that. Really good job by Sender right there. Look at what he did. He pulled that camp actually to his own creeps.
Aggroed it.
So, Book is going to try to maybe get these last hits. He gets 1, actually, so good job by him. But yeah, his CS is extremely low. And they started out with that dual lane mid, and this is one of those times, like I said last game, you don't necessarily have to pull, especially when you're up against a solo. Yes, it is a Silhouette, but it's not like it's that horrible of a matchup for Wild Soul. You get a lucky root, you're doing a lot of damage, you can still contest in that lane.
Well, we see right here, chain reactions coming out from Torture. He's roaming over to help this Wild Soul. Meanwhile, Fade catching Magmus, actually. Magmus dropping fairly low. Will be forced to use a Lava Surge before he eventually got taken out by Probusk here, playing this Fade. But you're right, I mean, the creep score on Book is 3-2, and that is a little bit shocking. Like I said, Engineer roamed up here earlier on, but it seemed like at least the first couple of creep waves, if not for 3 of them. Book, for the most part, should have had a fairly decent time in terms of getting some last hits, but really has not been able to capitalize on that. But because of Torture helping out a little bit, we'll start to get some creep kills here, at least hopefully. Just going to tank them in front of the tower before the next one eventually gets here. But yeah, definitely interesting things happening at the top lane. But the great news overall, though, here for Pikachu is that Probusk on this Fade, he is having a great time. I mean, he's 310 gold per minute right now. The top farm of the game, 35 and 14 creep score, and it is showing. So that's the positive big time for Pikachu, definitely.
Yeah, Fade's a great hero, and it was their first pick out of that lockpick phase, and for good reason. You can roam around, set up ganks very, very easily onto this team. And they're pretty squishy right now. So once she hits that level 6, I really hope she does utilize that ultimate right away. Magnus not getting a good farm in the mid, so they're succeeding in that aspect. But you know, like I said, they need a little bit more farm up on this Wild Soul. And again, their support, specifically this Aluna, is so gimped. Bottom lane, Bubbles drops very low, as you saw right there. Almost died, does not have any more regen. The bottle's empty, so he's going to have to run all the way back to base. TPS Prices maybe wants to get... Oh, tried for the... a good side step there, though, by Bubbles. Tried for that power throw, but just wasn't able to connect. And so, yeah, that's going to actually free up this lane here a little bit more for this Draconis, who was farming a lot better than he was at the beginning. It was kind of 1-1 with that Bubble, so maybe that roam back down to the bottom lane from Luna did help a little bit.
It did, but a big point there is that Draconis chose to max out his Blazing Flight first. I'm not saying that's wrong. It's just kind of unfortunate because if he had level 4 Dragon Flame there, that would have been a kill onto Bubbles. Wild Soul in the meantime at the top lane, though, big collapse on top of him. All 4 players are here, and he just gets annihilated for the Bloodlust kill. This tower is definitely going to fall as well. So how about that? I mean, Team v0te here putting a lot of resources into making sure to get that kill and push the tower. So in the meantime, Pikachu has solid response here. They're going to counter push the bottom lane, as Bubbles the only one here to defend it, but not going to get nearly enough pressure on the tower. And there goes the top tower in favor of our Hellborn side. So that ended up working out very well for them. Book continuing to struggle here now in this game on the Wild Soul.
Yeah, and they just don't have the levels now either. One of the greatest things about a Luna is when you get those levels, you can counter push very effectively on heroes like Keeper of the Forest, but he's only level 2. And Fade, I feel like I heard his ultimate. Yeah, I did hear Fade's ultimate, but Bubbles is playing very far back, maybe knows something's up. He's sitting right at his tower, kind of reluctant to walk up at all. And Fade maybe trying to go. I actually think he might have even been spotted, trying to walk around here, but he's not going to find the opening. This is a full HP Bubbles, and you're going to need more than just yourself to kill him.
And the top secondary tower is going to fall as well. So Gary Johnson, 2012, I mean, they're just going to take advantage of all this downtime here coming out from Pikachu if they're not going to even remotely look to stop it. So, yeah, Wild Soul just really struggling. You mentioned Aluna still, well, he just hit level 3 actually, but still completely underleveled in that sense. So Probusk, he was like the positive hope here, but he did try to set up again at the bottom lane, but Bubbles played that very well, and it was fine. Now, you do have a Draconis farming 300 and, no, that's experience. He's farming 311 gold per minute, so solid. He's in a little bit of trouble here, though. You see Magnus coming in, but ran right past the ward of sight, and so the Legion team very, very aware about what's going to happen. But both Torture and Aluna are here, so perhaps they can set up some kind of counter if they choose to do. But then you look at Silhouette over there on the Hellborn team and notice his farm. 421 gold per minute right now for Keizu on the Silhouette. And how about these triple stacked Ancients? Look what's going to happen right here. They're going to be stolen by Silhouette and Keeper of the Forest and Engineer. That just adds insult to injury.
It does. And a defensive ward in that regard from Sender to spot out maybe a gank attempt onto these Ancients. But that is just horrible for them. They're going to get a lot of golden experience from that. Of course, Draconis is farming not the Ancients, but the stacks that were made for him in the regular jungle. But it's just not going to be the same. And especially when you think about what Luna did for pretty much the first 3 or 4 minutes or so, and that was his job, and now that was completely ruined by the Hellborn. Yeah, completely ruined by the Hellborn team.
Yeah, it's that sucks. And the saddest thing about it, they don't even know yet. They're going to go over there, and they're all going to be dead, and they're going to be like, are you kidding me?
Yep.
Aluna is being scouted out here by Invisible. Bubbles, actually, oh, she's going to get dove big time. She's going to sit here in the middle lane thinking that she's fine, but here comes Bubbles. There's the tree grapple, and down goes Aluna. Keizu actually getting credit for the kill right there. Now, in the meantime, Probusk did pick off Swindelmon's actually behind the whole team, so that was kind of interesting. Got a little bit of a flank going on, but they're going to lose another tower here as well, unless Fade maybe suicides for deny, but yeah, that just wouldn't be worth it, of course. So there's an easy tower kill, and the lead is just getting bigger and better now for Team v0te. They are a 5,500 gold lead, 1,700 experience lead. What is game number 2? Already up 1 game to nothing here in this best of the 5. So Pikachu's backs are already against the wall here, only 11 minutes in. They definitely have to hold strong here if they want to have a chance. I hate saying that, man, but they really are just so far behind early on in the game once again.
They are, and I think it really does go back to, well, a couple things. One, I think Book could have done a way better job in that top lane. Two, drafting these two supports, and I think the idea of two dual lanes would have worked out, but they didn't do that. They had like a pseudo tri-lane mid, where Luna just wasn't effective towards this Bubbles in the bottom lane at all until maybe till Bubbles was like level 4 or 5. And by that time, it's just way too late. Bubbles can actually turn and get a kill on you. And I think it would have been more effective if they are going to go that strategy of having two supports. I think Andromeda works 10 times better. He offers something at every stage in the game. Of course, isn't the strongest laner, but when you're up against a Suicide, you don't need to be the strongest laner.
Well, Draconis is going to, maybe not farm some creeps, because here in the meantime, they're going to open on Magnus actually in the Invisible Fate, and yes, Magnus will fall apart. That's some good burst damage there coming out. Some good coordination from Pikachu, and obviously a step in the right direction. Engineer's going to counter ward, though. Very good job by Sender, obviously realizing earlier that they were somehow spotted. So figured there was a ward aside around, and sure enough, he finally found it. Granted, his counter ward is counter warded, but of course you don't get gold for that if you're a Luna in this case. So Draconis will just now go, well, he did just clean up that triple stack creep right there. So again, he is taking advantage of that, and that was good. That was well done here by the support, stacking the camps, which Draconis has now cleared out in total. But again, the Ancients being cleared out by the Hellborn team, that is such a large swing right there in their favor. v0te is now going to go, or Z-Freak in this case, playing the Keeper of the Forest. He's going to go over, and it's only a single stack Ancients, but he's just going to steal them just because he can. This ward of sight that was placed by Sender, you talked about earlier in that middle lane, is it allows him to do so. I mean, he knows if somebody perhaps is going to try to sneak up here and put some trouble in for him, and so he's just going to steal at least a couple of the Ancients. He's going to leave the one dragon behind, and that's obviously very smart because that just nullifies two, and now there won't be any respawn. So,
well, he's still attacking it, so we'll have to see if he actually does get the kill. But
yeah,
I agree with you. Leaving one of the small ones is the best way to really go about it. But nope, they want to kill it, so they want that extra 40 gold.
Oh, bottom lane, there's actually the energy field was used, but it didn't look like it really did too much right there. So, unfortunate for Sender, not the greatest placement, catching the tail end of that. Torchwood and Fate are hanging about nearby. Fate does have an ultimate, but there is a Revelation right here. God, that would be so deadly for him. Now, they are going to spot it because their Rev Ward put down. I believe that should be in range, so.
Should be, yep.
Not the most worrisome there, but Wild Soul, how's he recovering? I mean, he's at 191 gold per minute now, so Book is on the up and up, but again, after his horrendous start, still has a ways to go. With this game, do you think Mach will be the right choice?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Mach is a much better choice this game for a number of reasons. They're simply not as tanky as they were last game. And you have a number of heroes that are going to need blinks. You're going to have bubbles that you can cancel with the Mach, especially Magnus. You can cancel that ultimate with or cancel the blink with the Mach. So Mach is a much better decision here in this game.
Yeah, Bubbles actually, he was almost going to scout out a Luna right there who was porting away at the last second, but able to port away in time and going to be fine as a result of that. But 4 players gathering up here at the bottom lane now, including Keeper of the Forest, who does have a portal key now as well, and that's, again, just another thing that the Legion team will already have to be worried about. Only 14.5 minutes into this game. Z-Freak farming 358 gold per minute. That is impressive, but who's more impressive? KZU on Silhouette, 510 GPM already. Fate is currently invisible, but again, look at this Revelation right above her. She's going to be spotted. There's the Magma stun. In comes the follow-up chain reactions. Fate in a lot of trouble. Keeper of the Force going to read as well, and Fate will end up falling when it's all said and done. Energy field placement, not going to catch anybody, but keeping the Legion team back right here. Torture trying to fall back. Great blocking by Z-Freak right there with the minions, and down he will go as his brother Swinnermel stuns in with that lava sir. So Draconis ported in is like, yeah, I'm GTFO, because there is no point to standing there on that fight. So this tower will also now be lost, and the lead will just continue to grow here for v0te, because especially while that's happening, KZU is pushing the middle lane in the meantime, and he already has a Firebrand finish as well on top of the Whispering Helm initial pickup.
Yeah, and that tower kill is actually going to help his gold even more as he's counter pushing the mid lane. He's not going to get the tower, but he's doing a significant amount of damage to it, and that's smart. And one of the things too, I mean, Fade we saw last game, of course, picked up in that pushing strat for his team. And that works out very well, but the other way, if you look at it the other way around, Fade against a team that's pushing is not so effective because obviously it's way harder to get pickoffs. Oh, top lane, the portal key or the homecoming stone was used, but it doesn't matter, it was canceled. by the stun from Magnus, and Book goes down. Bottom lane, though, Neri gets a pick off onto Z-Freak on that Cave of the Forest. Maybe stayed a little bit too long. They had a Ward of Revelation to spot him out when he went invis, so a good kill there. But, you know, like I was saying, Fade against a pushing team, it's not strong because obviously when you're playing Fade, you're trying to get pickoffs, but if you're sticking together as a team with a Ward of Revelation, you just simply can't do it.
Yeah.
So it really cuts down the effectiveness of Fade.
Yeah, it does, and this is just a prime example of that. I mean, we've seen several chances where Fade has perhaps had time to go in, but you talked about it. They're sticking together as a team, and the Water Revelations have been over the place, and that obviously bottom lane down there, that completely screwed her. She had no clue that she happened to be standing right near one, and the Hellborn team took a complete advantage of it. So, Pro Bus, not that it's his fault. I mean, he had the great start. He was doing his job in that sense there in the middle lane, and that was the good news for Pikachu, if any, for the early game stage. But now the fact that he is kind of slowed down a little bit because of just great play coming out from Team v0te over here, it's showing. Draconis farming 333 gold per minute again, so kind of on the up and up. He hasn't even gone over to do Ancients yet, though, and you know, usually like around 9, especially level 11, you'd figure by now there would have been at least that chance, but that kind of does go back to earlier, obviously with the triple stack being stolen by the Hellborn team. We do see Wild Soul over there right now, and Draconis is going to currently sit in his own jungle instead, cleaning out what looks to be a triple stack right here, and enhance his farm that way. But he's already he's 200 gold per minute behind Silhouette. We're only 17 minutes into the game. Yeah. There's just so many ways you can look at just stats right here to just see how big of a lead Team v0te actually does have. I mean, 9,200 gold lead, 3,300 experience. The experience not so much, but obviously sticking together will definitely nullify that somewhat. But the gold is the big one, and it's just going to even get bigger here now as they're going to clean up some triple stacked Ancients as a team. So,
yep. I wanted to mention, oh yeah, Magnus, very close to his portal key. Will probably maybe start pushing as a team yet again once he has that, and Keeper of the Forest probably close to level 11 as well. But yeah, Casey just picked up an action here onto a Luna. He's going to be in trouble. The Kelp actually used a Luna will go down. So despite having to use that that ultimate, still secures that kill, and that's the most important thing. Well,
they're doing Conqueror. I think the Legion team is aware, but they can't stop. There's literally nothing they can do. I mean, Draconis is very low on mana right here. They have a Luna dead. They're just under-farmed right now, and this is a very strong teamfight team here on the Hellborn side. So if you're Pikachu, you're like, yeah, you're doing Conqueror, we can't stop it. So go ahead and have a free token of life and a Conqueror kill. That's exactly what they're going to have to do right now. You do see Fade running in with an invis. There are Revelations down, but he's going in an interesting route, actually. And he could ninja this if Probusk times this correctly. The ultimate is going to be up for another 13 seconds. Oh, but you see the Legion team falling back before they go for the kill. That is going to really screw Fade. Meanwhile, in the middle lane, Draconis was pushing it, but now Draconis is going to get jumped on here, and Draconis is going to fall. What Gordov was thinking is completely beyond me. I mean, he obviously, I guess, no, he didn't. There is no vision here, but that sucks in the end. I mean, Fade is here. He's not even going to go for it, just not worth it, and he's just going to run away.
He actually just placed a ward on that little ledge, too, but I actually don't even think that would give vision.
Yeah, I don't think it does.
And so, yeah, yet again, they're in a huge rut right now. And this is the power of a team fight and an aggressive team. This time, I think it's even better because they have very strong initiation and AoE from Magnus, as well as Keeper of the Forest, and they also have that late game secured so much with Silhouette having this much farm early on. Already has Geometers, the Steam Boots, the Whispering Helm. I think bought something else as well, and on top of that, the Token of Life. So this is looking really good yet again for Gary Johnson 2012.
Yeah, this is just a case of, if this was 30 minutes right now, I would still be pretty impressed by KZ's items. We're only coming up to 20 minutes in, and it's and that's what he has. So it really is just ridiculous how his GPM is just shooting off here. We have a Grave Locket being delivered. Looks like that is to Magnus, maybe? Yeah, Magnus. I'm guessing. Okay, having some trouble controlling the courier. There we go. So Grave Locket is delivered to him, so giving him a little bit of extra mana boost. And as we've talked about it before, I mean, Grave Locket is just really a solid item to have if you can have the money to invest into it earlier on, with the cooldown reduction especially, but a decent-sized mana pool, especially for a hero like Magnus, who will gladly take advantage of that. So at the bottom lane, we see Pikachu setting up for some defense. A level 11 Fade running around. Do they have a bound die by now? No, they don't have a bound die, and there are no Revelations down, so here's a chance actually. Keeper of the Force is going to jump in first, though. Catches a couple heroes, including Draconis, who's sitting in the background. Cataclysmic Assault not activated yet. In fact, Gordov getting initiated on. He will not get his ultimate even off, and he just got locked down completely. Fade says, yeah, I'm out of here, guys. Not much I can do. Wild's getting beat down now. The turret. What a placement by the turret. There's the Lava Surge stun, catching two heroes. Down goes Wild, down goes Aluna. Double tap coming up for KZoo, and they're already going to push the base. The v0te Concede has come out. There it goes. Gary Johnson 2012 has won 2 games here in a very, very short time. They're on their way to a best-of-5 series victory here, unless Pikachu steps it up going into game number 3.
I'm keeper of the forest, guys. I can't stress enough. This hero has been winning games left and right, and it just has so much going for him as a hero. He's relatively easy to farm in the jungle with. He has an amazing ultimate. He pushes.
Yeah.
He has invis. He gives you regen. He gives you armor. It's just an all-in-one kind of hero, and it seems to work really well in this metagame, not only as a suicide, but as a jungler as well. And I think that is the problem now that Pika has to work with and deal against. And I really think that in this next game we're going to see a blind ban on Keeper.
Yeah, that seems like that would make sense, as he has been a deciding factor in both of those games, no doubt, for Gary Johnson 2012. So I really don't know what much else to say. I mean, we saw the results right there. We saw it in front of our eyes that Pikachu, great team. I mean, this is a very good team, of course, getting to the top 3 spot in the first place in Group B and setting up this matchup against Swindon Melons and crew. But you could tell Swindon Melons, their team, that they've been practicing. They have been preparing for this moment. I mean, both of these teams have, to Pikachu's respect as well. But they really want this trip, and they're showing that right here. They're up a quick 2-0 over Pikachu, but it is a best-of-5, guys, so there is still hope left for Pikachu after all. But you made the point, it's tough.
Yeah.
You're going to have that mentality now, knowing that you need to win 3 games in a row in the back of your mind to actually win the series. But, hey, it's easy for us to say maybe, but really you just got to say, you know what, 1 game at a time, baby. As cliche as that sounds. 1 game at a time if you're Pikachu from here on out. So we'll see what happens, Ralph. Game number 3 is going to be coming up here shortly. Stay tuned. We'll be back. right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, game number 3 is upon us. And normally we'd be like, oh, we got a 1-1 here. Let's go at it. This team wins. They're going on. It's best out of 5, though. So a best out of 5 that is a 2-0 lead in favor of Gary Johnson 2012. So here we are. Pikachu, of course, their backs are against the wall, to say the very least. But, hey, one game at a time. Just that simple.
That simple. Boom. Do it. No, they really need to switch something up here. We have actually gone into the game. In my opinion, we need to see a blind ban specifically on Keeper of the Forest, but none